Training camp practices have actually happened. Jawaan Taylor's film has actually been reviewed. And today, we are actually going to talk about my off-season lessons. What a show!
This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
It is only Weird Games. All three of us are here together. Joshua Brisco, Seth Keysor, and Nate Taylor. The first full crew show we have had in a minute, fellas.
Yes.
But Nate went international. Seth was he just dipped for one after serving plenty of time with just me and him doing a few shows in a row. And it really feels like the season has arrived. Having all three of us, hey, listener, viewer, voyeur, if you expected us to be in perfect form, I didn't direct that to anybody. I just threw a jump ball. I was like, one of them will catch it.
It has been since the year of our Lord 2017, or maybe 2018. The rule has been when Josh asks an open-ended question and doesn't say someone's name, that goes to Nate. Our first podcast meeting was about it. Nate, I love you, buddy. Welcome back. It is so good to see your face.
Thank
I
you.
missed you, man. Sorry I missed your first show back, but that's all you, man. You know what?
I should put a name on it. I gotta be more on target. Hey, look, it's on me. All right, I can't blame my pass catchers.
This is Patrick Mahomes taking the blame for MVS dropping that pass against the Eagles. This is I put a little too much on it. Probably could have.
That's where I'm at.
There's no easing in, Nate. We're here.
We are. Hello. We are back. I do get the sense that this might be one of the last shows I do for my home, because my home won't be my home anymore starting Sunday. So after report day on Tuesday, and having a chance to see, the rookies move around yesterday and today, it feels good to know that football couldn't be so closer, yet it's still far away-ish.
It feels closer than ever to me because pressers are happening. We've got a few things to talk about and to keep an eye on. For you, I understand why it feels very, very far away. And we should get this out of the way early on here. This is no shade to St. Joseph, Missouri as a city, right? But it's an hour and a half away from the place where you live, and you got to go there every day. The hours just get long. It's secluded by design for Chiefs training camp, as they talk about time and time again. But you don't have a room in the dorms, Nate.
I do not
have a home.
Yes, that's a good distinction to announce to the public, Josh. There was a time back in the day where reporters did get dorm accommodations, right? If you wanted to be here and with what the guys were going through, you could do that option. There was some charm to it because you could pack your bags, maybe do it for a week. If you wanted to get away from the kids, God bless you, I guess could. But no, there's no dorm room for me. There's mileage involved, and there's my own bed. And those are the agreements that I have agreed to. That is the contract. I know what I signed up for. I also love that, ladies and gentlemen, yesterday we asked Xavier Worthy why his finger got jammed trying to catch a Patrick Mahomes pass. And then his response was, I know what I signed up for. Yeah, that violent sport called football? Yes. But first, why you get your hand jammed? Why'd your finger get jammed? Because he's throwing the ball a million miles an hour, and I haven't practiced since May 22nd. So I know what I signed up for too. It's fun. I wish now I will, for Nate Dogg here in the comments, he says cinder block walls, which is what Andy Reid says, that it's not a prison, but it's 4 cinder block walls in a toilet
and a shared bathroom, and you can't go home.
And if you're a rookie, you definitely not going home.
Yes.
So I mean, I'm not saying it's prison, but as Andy Reid told Vahe Gregorian of the KC Star, there's a level of toughness, and we need to go back to a certain period of time where we were tougher as men, and now you got to do it for a month. So I love training camp. I'm really happy. It is not beaten out of me yet. It will beat me at some point. But I haven't lost yet, and that's okay because I don't have to be in center block walls. I just have to, I just have to drive to and from every day. 4 days straight, 1 day off, 4 days straight, 1 day off, 4 days straight, 1 day off, because that is the rules per the collective bargaining agreement between Andy Reid and the Players Association.
Rules that will be discussed on Tuesday exist because of Andy Reid.
Yeah.
Andy is going to push that as far as humanly possible. Like the Players Association, they probably have like some picture of Andy Reid that they just keep with them, that anytime the owners try to negotiate for a little more practice time, they just duck their head and point at Andy Reid, and they're just like, we know what he's doing to these guys still somehow. He's making rookies throw up. I mean, it's great. Nate, I do have a question for you before we get started.
Sure.
Have you revealed where you were traveling here?
I did reveal most of my location on Tuesday.
Okay. Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
Did you manage to get to any? I made very few recommendations. Yes. Were you able to get to any of them? Tell me you had gelato at Eduardo's.
I had gelato at so many places. The answer obviously is yes, but also there was a day where we had, I think, gelato 3. Like now, you have to.
You're walking around. You need the energy.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I had gelato 3 times in one day. Now was one of those an exception? Sure, because we signed up for an Italian food tour.
Oh, those
yes.
And those are the absolute best.
God, I want to go.
The best.
I want to go do a food tour again.
So look, I'm sure of it. Now, did my wife take photographic evidence of every gelato that we had? Of course she did. She was in her photographic document everything moment. So I'm
so happy for you.
The gelato is like
so good.
She tried old pistachio. She tried salted caramel pistachio. She tried pistachio with actual pistachio nuts still in its organic normal form. She tried so many pistachio flavors, and I just tried everything that wasn't pistachio. So that was my role. My role was to go oppo.
That was me too. I kept, unless the only time I ever had a sure thing is we went to a place where they had salted caramel, and I was like, Jazz would be like, "Oh, what do you look at?" I was like, "Baby, you know, I don't know why you're asking me, but I'm gonna get salted caramel." She's like, "Yeah, but this might be." I'm like, "I'm sure it is great." There was one place that had cinnamon that was like, my son told me it tasted like gelato cinnamon toast crunch, and I was like,
"It's amazing."
Oh,
I did cookies and cream.
Oh, it's so good.
I did. There was one where they had Biscoff's cookies.
Oh, get out! Stop it!
And
Biscoff
jam, Biscoff gelato with Biscoff jam.
Oh, Nate, stop it! You didn't say this on Tuesday.
I didn't. Yeah, I didn't. And I mean, look, and the guy, our food tour guide, gave great tips. I also didn't explain this on Tuesday too. Go to Rome and make some pasta.
Oh,
you know what I'm really good
pasta?
At? Yes, we did a pasta making class. I'm really good at ravioli.
Nice.
I'm really bad at tortellini.
Really bad on tortellini. No shame there.
Yeah,
I'm really bad at it. So
you're a Yankee, right? I don't know.
Yeah, of course. But look, it was, ladies and gentlemen, I want to be very clear. Viator can sometimes steer you in a place where, is it authentic? No. Did Viator tell me I was going to see skulls at the catacombs? Of course they did. Yeah. Did I see skulls? No.
What?
They didn't show any bodies at the catacombs in the Vatican.
What's the point of?
I saw the tomb.
Well, that's something.
I mean, Was it Peter? Well, Peter was buried there. I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
First name basis like Prince.
Yeah, and then they dug him out and put him over here. And
and this is the hand of Peter. And it turns out if you gather enough of what supposedly remains of Peter, you'd have 40 bodies, and you're like,
exactly.
But it might be.
Close.
It might
he
be.
looks like the Vitruvian Man's sketch, but with all of those arms and legs. It's like, man, Peter had a lot of limbs.
No wonder he was. No wonder he was so crucial in the early church. He was terrifying. It's like, I'm building my church around this dude because he's going to come to town. The Romans are going to be like, maybe we shouldn't stop him. That's how he moved the rock. All right, I'm sorry. I dragged this. I had to know about the gelato.
Do you know how did Peter die? Theoretically, what's our best guess?
Theoretically.
The tradition is that he was crucified upside down.
That's what
not great.
Even
that
worse.
Sounds like a really bad.
Even worse when you have 10 arms. Is all I'm saying.
Your arms would just be flopping on your face, and this is a really dark place we've gone. I'm so glad.
Crucified on an asterisk.
Oh man, that's so cool.
I only have.
That's a tomb, kids.
I know everyone wants to talk Chiefs football. We will, but everyone likes to talk about travel too. Let's be honest. Did you enjoy?
My blood sugar is going up right now just listening.
Yeah, just listen.
Biscoff,
seriously, man,
gelato.
The gelato and their bread, just the bread. It's life altering. Nate, I did want to ask: was the Mediterranean coast what you guys were hoping?
Yes, Lord. Yes.
I'm so happy.
Can I share? All right. Let me just share the photo that I have it. I need to make it my background. I've yet to do it because I'm lazy.
It's getting an off-season lesson. Screw you guys.
Yeah. No, we're getting there. We're get there.
I will, as you find that, Nate, I will fill in a little bit here. Jazz and I were so nervous. Chincotere! Oh, you did a boat tour?
We did a boat. I swam in that water, sir.
Oh, my goodness. All I did was wade in that water. Man, you vacation better than I do.
Yeah, Holly got the boat tour.
So pretty. Did you hike between one of the towns, and how did you handle it? Because let me tell you, some of those hikes, the changes in elevation, much like an Andy Reid training camp, and this is how we're going to start bringing it around.
Yes.
Some of those hikes are the long drive drill. Like you see people coming down as you're going up, and they're like miserable and laughing at you, and you're like, well, why? And then you round a corner and you're like,
is it Vernassa, right? That's that's the one where you're just like,
yeah.
They make it look so much better in the documentary. They made it look fun. This isn't fun.
But the views they have like every 40 yards or so, they've got views that are like life altering.
Yeah.
And then that gives you an excuse to stop for like 5 minutes and catch your breath. And then you go again. I'm so glad you had fun. What I was going to say is Jazz and I were talking while you were gone, and we were like, we are not cultured people. We're not really travelers. We have maybe had people travel to, Anna Maria a few times. That's so awesome.
Nick, can you describe that real quick for our audio audience? Where is this at?
This is the Vatican gift shop where we bought some
Spaganolo. And now you can't stop the fake accents, Josh, because now it's me and Nate.
That's fine. As long as Nate finishes describing what it is for the people who can't currently see it.
Also, lovely that this is how they spell English. English.
Everything is spelled just a little bit differently. The popes. So all I was going to say,
if you want to get your Pope hard copies, just go to the Vatican gift shop where you could buy, obviously, some really nice like memorabilia. I won't say there's game worn robes, but there's pretty cool
worn robes.
You can get replica robes.
That would be
amazing. I actually thought about that in the middle of it. I was like, where are the game worn memorabilia?
Yeah,
that would go for a price.
That'd go for a lot.
I'm just so relieved. We have never had people, and you guys obviously formed your travel plans on your own. But we've never had someone travel to a place that we'd so strongly recommended before, and we were like, man, what if they hate it?
No.
Oh, those towns, it's impossible to hate that place. I'm going to walk 10 feet and have some gelato. Then I'm going to walk 10 more feet and have some ravioli. Then I'll walk 10 more feet and I'll have some pizza. Oh, by the way, it's beautiful here and it's not that crowded. It's incredible.
Oh, Nate Dogg said Pope trading cards? Come on.
You get a swatch of the game.
Yep.
A Pope game used hat patch in the trading card. That'd be incredible.
So here's the thing, kids. Obviously, I showed you a tomb in the catacombs. Okay, I'm not saying that's where Peter was buried. It's not. Peter was buried way down there.
Yeah.
But during the excavation, the archaeologists, who knows, Indiana Jones was probably there too. They dug him up to put him in a cathedral. And I've never seen a more gaudier tomb, but this is quote from the Vatican. Quote, the tomb of the Apostle Peter. Behind the mosaic representation, Christ's blessing there is a niche that belongs to the famous so-called Gaius trophy. The latter is a shrine built above the Apostle tomb around 160 AD against a red wall where the famous inscription, I am not reading that Latin, but ultimately it says, Peter is here.
I'm sure that's how he would have wanted it.
He has been discovered. The Basilica was built above the tomb of Peter, the first pope. Now, look. Clearly, I didn't see anything. But I saw that he's down there somewhere.
Yeah.
And to my right...
F it, Peter's down there somewhere.
And to my right is Jeff Allen. And so we took a photo next to where Peter is here. Yep.
Get out of town. You're kidding.
No, I'm not.
That is so funny. That is an incredible moment. That had to have been genuinely jarring.
So he's down there somewhere, guys. Down there.
Peter's down there somewhere.
Down there somewhere.
And honestly, that must have been the cathedral and everything around it. That must have been incredibly beautiful.
Yes.
I'm happy you're back, but I'm glad you experienced it. I'm going to pass along to Jazz that you guys did not hate anything.
Any of it sounds like.
Anything.
Yeah, it was so great. It's such a great place. Josh, you're next, and then we'll do a full Only Weird Games Italy only podcast.
I'm totally down. I've been talking about
guys? Peter's right behind us. He's down there somewhere. He's literally right behind us.
Of just Jeff Allen, Nate Taylor, and Peter.
Yeah, we just, he
was going to be there that day, or did you seriously just run into him there?
We just both of our Vatican City tours ended essentially at the same time, and we made eye contact. Amazing.
Hey.
Like, how many times did you have to go, no, maybe, no? It would have taken me a long time to believe that I had seen anyone I knew.
Now, this is where my skill set comes in, because where I do much better with people's faces than their names, even though obviously I write for a living. But upon eye contact, I knew immediately who it was, and I think Jeff's probably in a similar situation where he just saw me. It was a nice smile. I'm not saying our complexions made a difference, but I mean we were out here. I mean, come on.
That's fair.
We're out here.
I know that fair observation. Yeah. That is a fair observation.
And also, it's like looking back into 2018, because it was the first year I really covered the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And Jeff Allen. I think Jeff Allen was there in 2018 and 2019, if my memory is correct. I'd have to Google.
He got a Super Bowl ring.
He did get a Super Bowl ring. Yeah, he played in 2019. I definitely remember that. But yeah, just running into Jeff Allen and his lovely wife, and we got to chat it up, and Peter's. Did you read the sign? Peter's down there.
He's down there somewhere.
Peter
it's a cool thing. It's a cool thing. Yeah, like that Peter. Yeah, Peter.
That dude
down there somewhere. All 20 arms.
And then he asked me if I had seen the Coliseum, which was the next day. Which I informed Jeff Allen that it was the next day, and he was like, "Got a little PTSD," and I was like, "Fair." Totally fair. And then he asked me when's camp, and I told him the days that are camp, obviously Sunday. I was like, you gonna make it up? You're gonna come up see the
That
boys?
man laughed in your face.
He's like, I might get a little PTSD. I was like, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You don't want to. You don't have to come.
Those Andy Reid camps.
Yeah, but like he sort of laughed. He sort of laughed at the idea that like I have to go to camp and he does it.
Yeah, he should. He's earned that, I think.
Of course. Yeah.
He put in his time.
Yeah, of course.
You don't have to pass the conditioning test, so I feel like he had earned that.
It.
But Nate, I do have one little factoid that I read over on a little website called The Athletic / The New York Times, where you had something to see. You had somebody to check in on.
Yes.
You needed to find out if a fast little guy wearing number 1 was going to yak or not. And Nate Taylor, can you report here on Only Weird Games? Did Xavier Worthy throw up?
To our disappointment, he did not.
Yay! I think it's probably a good sign. I don't know.
That's probably a good sign. Now, somebody did throw up. Somebody did vomit. And I promise you won't guess who it is unless you've already seen it on the internet. But someone did hurl, and it was kind of a surprise. So that trend continues for 3 straight years now. Someone has barfed on day 1 of camp. When again, we're not even at the hard part. The hard part is Sunday when it's just go time and there's really no breaks in an Andy Reid training camp practice when the full team's there.
Right.
Yes, I know somebody asked, wasn't it 70 degrees outside? Of course it was 70 degrees outside, which didn't help the whole is he not gonna puke? But
if you're pro barf, it didn't help. If you're anti barf, it did help.
Yeah. So, but someone did vomit, and it was quite a surprise because it was like, interesting. But hey, the body works in mysterious ways.
I think I knew who it was. Is that out there?
I don't know if it's out
your
there.
Story, right? Okay,
it's not in my story.
Okay, I didn't
but no, Xavier Worthy didn't puke. He didn't aggravate his hamstring injury. He looked pretty good. He's not 100% because they heavily taped his left hamstring, which you can see through photos.
It's the featured photo on Nate's article is the best view of it I had actually seen. It looks like he may have had a gaping wound on his leg. I don't know. I obviously the Chiefs athletic trainers did that for a reason. I don't know what wrapping up a hamstring like functionally does like that. Like I don't know. It's not a joint, so I don't know. Interesting and very heavily wrapped, as you said.
It's a little different than like getting your ankle retaped, right?
Right.
But look, he did show a bit. Works. Yeah, he did show a bit of explosion. He caught a nice deep pass from Ian Book, which I did not have down on my bingo board for first camp practice, but he jammed his finger, but he stayed in. He didn't hurl. He had a couple drops, but that's normal because it's his first practice and in quite a bit of time. And it's also quite telling that Patrick on the first rep, a simple slant, threw it like it was 3rd and 4 in the AFC Championship game. It's just like you can put it in there or you could rifle it. I was like, bad.
This is an interesting. So I'm in the process of writing about things that I'm actually interested in training camp. Mm-hmm. And one thing that I'm not really interested in training camp, generally speaking, is the results of individual reps, especially when you're not in pads. I mean, after the first week last year, I remember we were like, Richie James is going to have 800 yards in this offense. And it's like, no, he's probably not. But
that did not happen.
So the thing that's interesting, and I'm going to write about this, is usage and intentionality. Mahomes is a pretty intentional guy.
Yes.
I think rifling something in at 100 miles an hour, and that look he gave you, there's no easing in. It's like, nope, you're a first-round pick, and I know you talked about this very eloquently on Tuesday, is this Worthy is going to get a certain kind of treatment we haven't seen a rookie receiver get with Rashee Rice, with Sky Moore. And there's good and bad in that. If you're Xavier Worthy, you're going to get more chances to shine. You're also going to get the ball chucked at you at 100 miles an hour to see if you can handle it. And yelled, hey, finish. It's just like, whoa, holy crap, man. The greatest player in NFL history is yelling at me. Like, that's like, hey, can you take it? Because normally they're on this like slow developing plan. Like, most rookies in the Andy Reid offense in year one, they're on that 3 months training program. Then you're off probation, and then we'll let you run other routes. Unless you're Rashee Rice, then we'll just ramp up those routes way more and call way more.
And you're still on probation in that case.
Yeah, and you're touche. That was funny. Matt Harmon recently said he called Rashee Rice's route tree more like a route shrub last year. And I thought that was terrific. Well, no, here's what I've said. He's more explosive Juju Smith-Schuster. That's Rashee Rice. And let me tell you,
fabulous football player.
That's a fabulous football player to have. And we'll see if he's worked on separating against man and all that stuff. But so he got on that graduated plan because, Andy Reid looked around the wide receiver room and was like, so everyone else kind of sucks this year, huh? Like, that's just where we're at, And like the two most trusted receivers.
Get you up to speed. No.
Yeah. But whereas with Worthy, it's like, hey, you're here. We're going to throw you the ball a lot. And that's interesting to me because we haven't seen it. We haven't seen that level of intentionality. And I'm just curious how long the leash is before Andy's like, nope, this isn't working. Let's go back to doing what I always do. So if you're Worthy, there's a weird kind of pressure on him these first couple weeks. Like, can you handle it? And I'm excited to see how that works out.
Especially because in the offseason program, Marquise Brown did very well. Yeah. Everything you could ask for a new veteran receiver who is, essentially your number one now, even though, yes, Travis Kelce still exists. And of course, what was fascinating about today is the reps, of course, increased, the targets increased, and thankfully, Xavier Worthy had more receptions than drops. And so similar to what it was like when he was going through, rookie mini camp way back in like early May, when Patrick Mahomes wasn't there, it was Chris Oladokun. You just want to see continual progress every day before. And so from day one to day two, it's an improvement. Obviously no issues with the hamstring right now. But he's not 100% yet. And if we get to like early August, then we'll see the reps that really matter, which is probably in pads in a one-on-one matchup between you and Trent McDuffie.
Yep. How are you doing when Trent McDuffie is beating the crap out of you in the slot?
There you go.
What do you do? Or when Josh Williams, who is twice your size, is jamming you on the boundary. I love it, man. I'm about to talk myself into training camp mattering. It's going to be great. I'm going to be so excited. The first time Worthy manages to utilize one of those little feints that he used in college and just blow past Josh Williams or Jalen Watson, and he just down the field, deep ball, I'm going to be like, man, that means so much. And I'm going to ignore the 3 previous snaps where it was like a snuff film at the line of scrimmage. It's going to be so great. I'm so excited for my priors to be all that matters. I'm just excited for it.
Nate, anything else from these last 2 days? It's the rookies and quarterbacks and a couple of vets working back from injury stuff. We heard from Jared Wiley today also. You heard from Worthy yesterday.
Yep.
But anything other than Jared Wiley being huge, we're going to have much more to talk about in terms of actual camp observations on Tuesday and Thursday, and then the next 25 days or whatever. Anything else small from the first couple?
Yeah, I love that KL368 asks, speaking of, cornerbacks, how's Najee looking? I'm not sure when we'll get to speak to Najee Johnson, but it's just encouraging that he's on the field, that he's taking reps, that he's just getting a little bit into football shape before obviously everybody reports tomorrow before Sunday's practice. There were some times where it's like, hey, similar to what Seth is saying, hey, well, who's pressing you right now, Xavier Worthy? Najee Johnson. And so it's really cool to see him back on the field. Looks to be in pretty good shape. Again, just another person to keep in mind as to where does Spags sort of place him when we have obviously, first team, second team defensive reps and who's going where. But other than that, Jared Wiley, tall, catches everything. Everything I said on Tuesday, just, keep it in your hearts because, like I said, he might be the darling of training camp. I know someone says, Kathy Welch says, Louis Rees-Zammit is too pretty. And Kathy, you are so freaking right, because both you can't see
Hair
this
was
on
great today too.
You can't. This is my point. You can't see it on camera today. He even sweats elegantly. So as Jared Wiley is leaving the podium in the tent, Louis Rees-Zammit is in the golf cart, just letting the sun gleam on this, just immaculate
That seems
body.
confused. I'll go ahead and I'll read a caption or a comment that I screenshotted while watching the pressers on the Chiefs live YouTube feed.
Sure.
There was a comment from a young lady named Mariah, and the entire comment was 4 words. It was, "Oh my God, Daddy."
Guys, don't let him please, Lord, let him be good. But
don't
don't
go to St. Joe this year. I would just say go to St. Joe alone this year, maybe. I don't know.
Don't if he's
don't bring your significant others to St. Joe.
If he's good, child.
Regardless of anything.
So anyway, as he takes more time, obviously getting a little Gatorade in, collecting his thoughts, again, letting the sun gleam upon him. Now remember, kids, he's already been a professional athlete, so he knows what he's doing. Gets up. Oh yeah, it's my turn. Okay, yeah, right. Let me and I must do this now without the microphone to get the full effect.
What Nate is doing here now, folks, is that he has given the head shake, the one hand through the hair, 2 hand through the hair. Let it drape at that.
And then again with an intoxicating accent. Hey guys, I'm ready for questions.
Also, well, you know what? We've got Louis Rees-Zammit taking to the podium on the rundown. But I do want to get to Jawaan Taylor. So let's hold on to the Louis Rees-Zammit thing. We'll put a pin in it.
No, he's fine. There's no.
I want to talk.
Guys.
I think he said at least one interesting thing that made me be like, hey Tucker, maybe we put Louis on there and we talk about this absolute unit of a sculpted gentleman
who wants to get hit by other grown men in pads. You don't have to do this, Louis. You don't have to.
Could have played the sport without a helmet, but here we are. Seth, set the table. You finally reviewed Jawaan Taylor, and we actually have a film review after weeks and weeks of building up to that. Do you want to reset your offensive line methodology at all, or?
I will just I'll just dive right into it. Let's fight the narratives. Jawaan Taylor was good down the stretch last year.
What?
No, I know, right? That's the reality of the situation. That's what the Taylor film review is. He wasn't great, and he wasn't as good as he was.
We appreciate you supporting KC Sports Network by listening to our podcast. You have helped us become the highest-ranked Chiefs podcast network in 2022 and 2023. And don't forget about our daily Substack newsletter, the best written analysis you can find on the Chiefs straight to your inbox every day. kcsn.substack.com.
Nice.
Since we were already talking about him, the one thing I thought was interesting from Louis Rees-Zammit was as he talked about the playbook, legit, I didn't count. I thought about counting, but I ran out of time. 8 to 10 times he talked learning playbook, looking for it's just about the playbook, the mental side, the playbook, 2 extra hours before bed, the playbook. The one specific direct quote that I thought was at least a little bit interesting. He talked about his goals to make the team. I think this was Tysher's question. That's what I wanted to talk about on Tuesday, by the way. We have to talk about Tysher at some point. Nate, just putting a pin in that.
Yes.
But Tysher is retiring at the end of this season, and I want to talk about Adam Tysher, but I don't want to make it. Nothing bad is happening. He's just retiring, which is good because he's been on the beat for 30-some years. He deserves that. But I want to talk about Adam Tysher at some point during training camp. But he talked about first goals to make the team, special teams, Tobe, Andy Hill, learning the playbook, all of that. This specific part, I think, is at least a little interesting. learning the running back roles, being able to learn pass protection, and then learning my routes off that, I think all of it adds up. And the main way I'm going to make it on this team is by learning pass protection and to be able to be a key role on special teams. He said it much more eloquently and frankly sexily than I did, but that's just the voice. I mean, our
Jawaan Taylor does pass protection too.
So obviously special teams we've talked about over and over and over again.
Probably more of those snaps than LRZ.
And I don't know. I have not given Lewis a huge chance to be a actual running back in year one. It's just a lot to ask. But this team could use what is that face for? This team could use a pass protecting running back that, well, yeah, I'm selective, obviously. Like, you don't know how that works. This team could use a pass protecting running back who could occasionally squirt out of the backfield and catch a little pass and then be dangerous in space. I still think that's probably a long shot, but the idea that is really, really, really high on his list of things to learn, as opposed to I got to learn how to read the line and hit the hole or whatever.
Right.
I don't really see that in his skill set super evidently now anyway. But if he could be a third down back, that would be far beyond my actual expectations for him. But talking about pass pro today, I thought was interesting, Nate.
And the thought too is now it sets up something for us to watch to really evaluate him.
Good
Not
call.
with the ball in his hand, but there's a specific drill, ladies and gentlemen, at training camp where it's safety or linebacker against running back. And you got to hold up for 2.5 seconds. And sometimes Justin Reed makes you look like a fool. Okay? Sometimes Nick Bolton.
Leo Chanel runs through your face.
I was going to say, sometimes Nick Bolton just bull rushes you into the pad dummy that's supposed to be the quarterback. So if he can hold up for 2 seconds in pass pro and look legitimate in terms of not just upper body strength, but obviously anchoring and moving your legs, he will have already advanced in a way that is honestly unprecedented for someone who, again, ladies and gentlemen, has never played a down of American football at any level.
And
so
the other thing about that intrigued me so much is that, does it make sense for that to be the skill set that could translate from rugby to this? Like, there's some taking on an attacker there kind of makes sense. Also, great comment from Nathan here that says Nate's going to be, quote, evaluating Lewis with binoculars from 30 feet away.
Look, man, there's going to be some one-on-ones. We all know this. Okay, let's just acknowledge that there'll be some times later on in camp where me and Lewis Reese Salmon have a one-on-one conversation, and we'll just see what happens. We'll just see where it goes, as ladies often say. I'm just want to see where it goes. So look, with all that in mind, we know he can catch the football. That has not been an issue for him, at least so far in these practices. Swinging out of the backfield, making option routes, sort of angle routes. He's been very good catching the football, and obviously we know he's really, really fast. He even acknowledged today, if given perfect scenario, and if he feels, on his absolute best day, he believes he could run in the high 4.2s, which is crazy because he ran in the 4.4s on a bad day by his standard at the International Pathway Pro Scouting Day. So if he can hold up in pass protection, if he could be someone that, dies a slow death, which is something you guys talked about a few weeks ago, then yeah, who knows? Maybe it speeds up his process to, again, have a legitimate shot to make the roster.
That was when Josh let me talk.
Yeah, and our entire audience was dying a slow death. Tell me about Jawaan Taylor, Seth. You finally got the film review. You've already told us at the beginning that he was actually pretty good in the back half of not even the back half of the year, the end of the year through the playoffs, essentially. Take a closer look. It's available right now in the Chief of the North newsletter, mnchiefsfan.substack.com. You can subscribe for $12 a year forever, and you can lock in that price. And I cut promos like that after I cut Seth off at the knees. It only feels fair. bit.ly/Seth really hates money. But infuriatingly. Oh no, you do need to pay to see this one. This is actually locked for
Make
subscribers.
this one.
Thank God.
I should unlock this one just to bug you.
I thought
I'm not
for
going to.
sure you were going to, and so
No.
I honestly am absolutely shocked. But for real, in the interest of me getting 2 minutes to talk about off-season lessons and the negotiation we're having now, we can spend the next 19 minutes on Jawaan Taylor if you'd so like. There's a lot of good stuff here. Check it out. Read along, watch the clips. But Seth, what did you find?
There's not a second break
I have
today,
no other levers I can pull to mess with you at this point.
So here's the thing with Taylor. I think I'll start in the negative and work my way backwards. And the reason I'm going to do that isn't because that's the appropriate way to do analysis. It's because I find when someone gets a bad rap among fans, that's often the only way to get people to listen, because they don't want to hear things out of the gate that messes with their priors. Cognitive dissonance kind of messes with you. In terms of the negative, you could still see, even late in the year, the way that having to redo his stance and kind of redo his get off and trying to work through all that early in the year was still messing with his feet at times. His footwork wasn't as consistent as it was in 2022 in Jacksonville. And you also saw some of the same things. The joke I made the other day talking to Seren, I think it was talking to Seren. I don't even know who I was talking to anymore. I don't even know what I'm doing. Maybe it was when I was talking to Maddie, is that I feel like Jawaan Taylor skipped some leg days over the years because he has a powerful upper body. He sat there with Jadeveon Clowney shot for shot. Clowney's a strong dude with his upper body. He can actually slow down bull rushers with a single arm to the inside shoulder. He can do all those things. He just doesn't have a lot of sand in his pants.
You said in the story that he lacks thickness. And honestly, those are fighting words for an offensive lineman. He should be pissed.
He is not
he should
down
be more
with
mad
the
at you than
thickness.
Charles Omenihu.
He is. Stop it. No, please, good God. I can't let this happen to me again. Doing 21 questions with Maddie. He's like, why do we have all these Charles Omenihu questions? Like, I don't want to talk about it, man. And I explained to him and he was like, what? Because I was like, the jerks that listen to Only Weird Games. He's like, no, we love our listeners. I'm like, no, I don't. They're jerks.
Certainly
anyway,
not all the time.
Yeah. You could see the two different tenors of the shows as we were talking. He's like, well, don't say that. I'm like, well. But anyway, so here's the thing with Taylor. He doesn't have a ton of lower body power. It's one of the reasons why in Jacksonville's scheme he struggled at times as a run blocker. People kept waiting for me to look at or to find some way that he was a problem in the run game. Because of what Andy Reid asks his tackles to do, he really wasn't. He's either participating in combo blocks with Trey Smith, where they were able to generate movement, or he had Taylor pulling and sealing, which he's great at that because he's very athletic. Or he'd had him climb into space, and he's terrific at that. Yes, Joshua?
Is that something that was specifically on tape with Jawaan Taylor, or has that historically been what Andy Reid asks of his tackles across various different guys at left and the right side?
Yes and yes. He does not generally ask his tackles to be like road graders. Although it was interesting when Morris was filling in last year, you saw a few more combo blocks with him and Joe Tooney because Morris, I think they should try him off at guard depending on how things go with Sudamata because Morris can move people. Now that's a guy who's got really powerful upper body and lower body. So the thing with Taylor, he wasn't really a liability in the run game like people thought maybe he would be. He was fine, executed assignments and stuff in space. Really does a great job with that. In terms of pass blocking, the thing that I would note with him is when you compare what they do with him, especially down the stretch, in pass blocking as opposed to what they did with Wiley the year before, in terms of asking him to survive on an island against Max Crosby or against Nick Bosa, against whoever they got matched up against. And by the way, Crosby, he won that matchup. Now, people will look at the charted numbers and they'll see that he gave up a sack. He did. There were times
Jawaan
Crosby
Taylor
beat him.
won the matchup with Max Crosby, is what you're saying.
Yes, Jawaan Taylor won the matchup with Max Crosby. Against Bosa in the one-on-ones, I'd say Bosa got the best of him. That's going to happen with Nick Bosa. But he also won some of those one-on-one matchups too. The thing about Taylor, and this is true in his Jacksonville tape even more so, and you could see him recovering that form in the playoffs, he stays more consistent against higher end competition. Whereas Eric Fisher, who I love, who I think, he helped the Chiefs win a Super Bowl, got a lot of respect for him. against higher end competition, you could see the decline in his pass protection. He just struggled. Whereas with Taylor, he's able to go shot for shot with these guys and still be left on an island sometimes. And the schematic advantages that gives you, it's not the same as Mitch Schwartz, where he could be one-on-one and shut guys down. With Taylor, it's more shot for shot. It's just a huge schematic advantage. It allows you to give help elsewhere. He still did get some help, which is like with Schwartz, that poor guy. Like he'll say to this day, he's like, Andy always helps his tackles. And I always want to be like, not you. Like,
Yeah.
and he did sometimes.
Tackles.
Yeah, but not really. So you could see those high-end pass protection traits starting to shine through at the end of the season. He didn't play at an elite level, and he didn't quite play at the same level in pass protection he played at in 2022 in Jacksonville. But you could see him being left on an island. You could see his combination of traits is he's got high-level upper body strength. He's got good hand placement, consistent hand placement. He's got terrific feet. That is a combination of traits in terms of pass protection that's really hard to find. Generally speaking, guys that have really good feet are usually a little quicker, but they're not as strong with their upper body, which means they can't recover when they do lose with their feet. Jawaan Taylor's strong enough in his upper body that even if he does lose, he can actually re-anchor because he's really careful with his feet and he's got good bounce. He can re-anchor despite a lack of sand in the pants or whatever you want to say. He can re-anchor.
This is reminiscent of the. Tell me if I'm right, but this is reminiscent of Jets fans being like, "Isn't that a hold?" And Jawaan Taylor's like, "No, no, I'm actually just staying between my guy and the quarterback."
Oh yeah, 100%. He has the ability to recover his feet, get them back underneath him, even when he loses initially to a bull rush, and then he's strong enough with his upper body that he can leverage even when he's given up. Even when he's given up leverage, he can power the bull rusher backward with his upper body. Think of it as Chris Jones losing the leverage battle, not as extreme because Chris Jones is a freak. Think of it, Chris Jones, he loses the leverage battle because a guy's coming up underneath him and he just folds the guy backwards anyway. Taylor can do that. He's got a good set of traits. Now here's the thing with him. They're paying him to be an elite right tackle in pass protection. He wasn't elite down the stretch. If he can play at the level he played at down the stretch last year, they'll be okay. They'll be just fine with the contract. That's what I found. There's a ton more in there, but the usage thing is the big thing to watch with him in terms of it's not just about win-loss percentage with a tackle especially. It's about what that usage looks like. Can you line him up on the edge at the tackle spot there and just have him win one-on-ones with good consistency? Maybe not snap after snap after snap like Schwartz, but with good consistency. And that is what he was doing. He was a big part of how they won down the stretch in the playoffs, including against San Francisco. Like if you go back and you look at some of the plays where Mahomes got pressured by Bosa, some of them were, Taylor lost the one-on-one matchup. Some of them were Taylor won that matchup and then Mahomes bailed from the other side and Bosa was rushing pretty disciplined in terms of trying to chase Mahomes once he left the pocket. Should have had that kind of discipline on read option looks, but, no one can be perfect, I guess, Nick. So the great thing with Taylor is the option to return to some of that one-on-one stuff for deep shots, that kind of thing. So I was encouraged because the play did get dramatically better than it was earlier in the season, and you also saw a ceiling for a higher level of play still too.
Do you still believe in that ceiling in terms of consistency is so important, and
right.
the best rep or two or the usage you talked about, the usage shows you consistency because it's what does the team think of him, and then what is the majority of the way that he ends up getting lined up. Where would you put your chips right now in terms of what Taylor looks like this season? It's also, I understand you wrote about this, very hard to project into that without knowing what he did this offseason. If his get off looks exactly the same and the NFL didn't have any quiet conversations in back rooms about not calling as many of those, maybe his 2024 is a repeat of last year. But with a little bit of hope on the penalty front, what do you think? Sure. What do you think is most reasonable in expectation?
I think it's reasonable that he'll be quite good in pass pro next year, maybe even be on the fringe of elite in that. He's got the framework for it in terms of traits. His struggle is always going to be, which this is anyone's struggle. His struggle is elite players, guys that combine explosion, strength, and bend. The Nick Bosa's of the world, who can corner, who can bull rush, who have a great first step. Because Taylor's first step, and this is one thing that was so maddening about what's happening to him earlier in the year, he really doesn't need that edge, that extra tenth of a second, because he always beats the guy. He always beats the edge rusher to the spot. The times where guys will corner on him is his foot movement stops a little bit, and I don't know if that's because he's worried about getting beaten inside. I'm not sure exactly, but it happened a few more times to him with the Chiefs than it did with the Jags, and my assumption is he's still kind of working through this new world of footwork. There's a high level pass protector there. He did it for most of the playoffs and most of the end of the regular season, so I'm optimistic about it. I don't know if he'll ever be elite though, because like Lane Johnson's elite, right? And maybe that's an unfair comparison. Lane Johnson might go to the Hall of Fame. But to be a truly elite pass protector, you got to have that lower body power. And I don't know. So that's going to come and bite him occasionally.
Either, right? Like reviewing that. You were impressed by his Jacksonville tape, but not to an elite level.
That's never been. He was in Jacksonville's last year. He was a really, really good pass protector, but not quite to that like Johnson Williams level. And so I think they could end up being okay with the contract overall. Like if his play next year basically mirrors what we saw down the stretch last year, they'll be okay with the contract, but they won't be thrilled with it. And there's a difference. That matters in team building.
And Nate, he is going to be the right tackle this year. He is going to be on the Chiefs the year after, I assume it, right tackle. He's under contract for 2020. He's under contract for 26, but it's real guaranteed lockdown money through 2025. It does feel like if that's the path, the Chiefs will have just paid a free agency premium for a good, not elite player, which isn't the way you want to build your roster. It's you want to find good but not elite players on team-friendly deals or through the draft or whatever it may be.
Right.
What's your feeling for how the Chiefs are feeling about Jawaan Taylor right now before he even arrives at training camp? I know it's early.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Chiefs are still optimistic about Jawaan's ability to sort of play up to his full talent level, right, within the scheme of their offense. Now, will it be a point of emphasis? Who's to know, kids? But you know what is similar? Chris Collinsworth is going to be in the broadcast booth for the opener against the Baltimore Ravens on September 5th. So
we gotta get Collinsworth like six topics that are more interesting to him just so he forgets about it.
Well, it'll be helpful that Lamar Jackson's also on the field too. But like, you know, I love the fact that he's going to get we believe, you know, if he stays healthy, of course, he's going to get a second opportunity in a primetime only game on television. Everybody's hyped to see, you know, NFL football again. Obviously now as a champion with the Chiefs, but will the league, you know, make some concessions on his get off? Will his get off be similar? Will it be, as Seth said, closer to what he tried to figure out and sort of polish as the season went along? You know, especially during the second half of the season, I get the sense that the Chiefs are comfortable with Jawaan Taylor because he made incremental improvements throughout the course of last season.
That's hard, and that's hard to do.
Right.
He went through a total mind melt early in the season, and that had to have been incredibly tough to have the mental toughness to adjust. And he was quoted at some point during the season basically saying it's on me to figure it out.
Correct.
That's what you want from guys. No excuses, you just get it done. So that's good to see.
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting that we bring up the idea of, you know, hey, sometimes you do have to pay a premium because that player is on the market, which means multiple teams could bid for his services or obviously enter contract negotiations to where obviously that number can continue to rise based on, you know, how much a team feels that they need that player for success. What this tells you is the reason why, and sometimes it's I know the context, but I understand that these things are sometimes black and white. I'm here to provide some of the gray in between. But the reason why Jawaan Taylor is on the roster is because Lucas Niang's knee exploded in Cincinnati in 2021, I believe.
I don't
Coming
think it was
off
his rookie year because he didn't play in 20.
Right. Coming off the fact that he wanted to use, he sat out 2020 to actually get his body to heal when he came into the league with a hip injury. So, and that's why he fell from a 2nd round pick to a 3rd round pick. So, a lot of times evaluators will say, well, the reason you have to go into free agency is because your draft positioning, which the Chiefs never have good draft positioning in the era that Brett Veach has been the drafter. And you're also doing it too because maybe a player you did pick at that position is not playing up to expectations or had something that happened to them to where you need to replace that player for better production, which means, guess what, kids? You have to pay a premium if you want that player to be a clear upgrade, especially when he's on the open market. So it's unfortunate that an injury to Lucas Niang is obviously what opens the opportunity for Jawaan Taylor, but at the same time, it's now incumbent upon Jawaan Taylor to actually play to what that contract that has been given to him, because he's on a premier team that's trying to win its 3rd straight Super Bowl with the greatest quarterback we've ever seen, and that's his job. He signed up for it. And I love that Seth broke it down to where, again, it's understandable to have, I guess, some doubts about his progress, but he is capable of improving. And so what he does this upcoming season will be interesting because he started his time in Kansas City so poorly because Chris Collinsworth said, "Hey, dog, just aesthetically, I don't like the way this looks." And then the league kind of took it from there.
Tucker, I want you to hit it. It's the 56.5-minute mark. Got a couple off-season lessons I'd like to share. And really, there's one overarching one. And you have to keep in mind, these are actually, and I never had to explain this because we just kept running out of time, but these are lessons that I learned from last offseason after the Chiefs beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl and then went throughout that entire process. And just some things I want people to think on during the long dog days of March, April, May, June, and July throughout this offseason here in 2024. And the core of it for me, and I think what ended up being something we all learned, because the 2020 Super Bowl win and everything after, things got weird. After beating the Eagles, that's kind of when it felt like you really had the short offseason and everything else that comes with the madness of the NFL offseason. And throughout that process, and again, throughout the previous offseason, I learned how quickly all of that goes, how hectic it can all be, and how short the months become. So what I just want people to keep in mind, again, as we look ahead to free agency, the new league year, and the NFL draft, that, maybe the Chiefs get a speedy receiver or a left tackle of the future. But as we are in the analysis of all of that, not only should we take time for things outside of football, use that time well, because it does come together very tightly all at once, it feels like, whenever reporting does come in St. Joe, months away still now. But I'm gonna go to the American Southwest, spend some time outside, touch some grass. Seth and Nate, I would suggest Italy for both of you at some point this offseason. I think you would both really love it. I think you have a great time there, reconnecting with your spouses or maybe additional family members. That's up to you guys. I'll let you do the own planning. Nate, I feel like you'd love Wimbledon. I don't want to put that on you, but I feel like you, just knowing you, being your friend,
really,
I think you would enjoy Wimbledon.
Okay.
But the most important off-season lesson that I learned that I want to share for this off-season is to savor the moments that you have with your world champion back-to-back Kansas City Chiefs. When you can spend a little money on a stupid hat you don't need because you've already got 3 of them. Well, I've got 3 of them too. To enjoy the space between, because before you know it, the Chiefs are going to be reporting to training camp in St. Joseph, Missouri. I know how far away that feels right now.
Wow.
That day will come. The beads of sweat will drip down your face, and you're going to think, man, where did those months go? That victory lap that this team should be able to take.
Yeah.
Listen, is Travis Kelce going to be in costume on stage with Taylor Swift in London? No, let's not be ridiculous. Nothing that insane and hilarious is going to happen between now and the start of training camp. But if moments like that do show up, I hope you appreciate them. I hope you enjoy the time you have in this ever-shortening offseason. And that was the lesson I wanted to share with you. Oh, shit, it's July 18th.
Well said. I mean, I can't even follow it up. It's just so well said. You know, we all know life goes too fast, and you just gotta go outside sometimes and enjoy what life has to offer that's not football related, you know? And then that'll make you enjoy football even more when it returns. When it returns in a lovely place I like to call St. Joseph, Missouri.
I just hope that no one gets into trouble between now and then. That'd be.
Oh, it seems crazy, but I think the Chiefs and the Bills are going to trade in the draft. I think they're going to let him get a receiver.
Well,